What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Fumble Live. Today we are breaking down those comments that Draymond Green made about being the best defender to ever play in the NBA. I can't wait to hear what Jackie thinks about that. We're also talking about Kevin Durant and his status. We're wondering if there's a little bit more to the story. But before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
I'm not Draymond Green. I'm Jackie Ray, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter @JRayTheFanatic.
I just need to adjust my computer. I feel very close up for some reason. I don't know why. There we go. There we go. Better. It's looking better.
We're in the same boat. I was like, let me move my computer back.
I know, somehow it ends up looking different every single day. I don't know what goes on. Jackie, how are you doing today? Are you having a good morning so far?
Busy morning, but yes, good morning. I can't wait to dive into our first topic because y'all know I love me some Draymond, but this one's a little weird for me.
Right? I know you are a big fan of Draymond, but he got a lot of flack for what he said. So let's just get right into it, you guys. So Draymond is definitely known as one of the league's best defenders, but he did take it a little step further by declaring himself the best defender in NBA history. He said, "I think I'm the best defender to ever play in the NBA. I stand by that. I'd put myself up against anyone." So that is a lot of confidence. Now, we love to see confidence, but is this statement a little too big, according to pretty much, I feel like, everybody on the internet? Yes. But let's talk about some of his accomplishments. So he's won Defensive Player of the Year. He's been named to 5 All-NBA defensive teams, including making the first team 3 times. And when asked why he felt that he was the best defender, he said that he feels he has everything that the best defender would really need. He said, quote, "reaction time, toughness, being able to see the picture long before it develops, and most importantly, in order to finish a defensive possession, you've got to rebound, and I think I rebound well." So he, feels like he has the facts, the skills, the stats to back that up. But Tony Allen is somebody who isn't a fan of what Draymond Green said. So he tweeted at Draymond, and he said, "Big Cap, who stamped you, who you clamp. In the words of Jay-Z, we don't believe you, you need more people." Now, Draymond, as you guys can see on the screen here, responded to that and said, "I was waiting on you to stamp me, big homie, but your stamp book started running low in 2015 when we used you against your team on the way to my first championship." So that was just one back and forth, but then there were a lot of other people who were responding to these statements that Draymond made. People were saying things like, "Rodman won 5 championships guarding Bird, Jordan, Shaq, and Malone. Pippen won 6 titles playing Octopus, and KG did everything Draymond does but taller. Then there's Bill Russell. So yeah, let's pump the brakes. Thanks." There's another tweet here that says, "Bill Russell, Ben Wallace," they name all of these players, and then it says, "The list goes on, my friend." And then this other tweet that's just Michael Rappaport laughing. I feel like Michael Rappaport is always such a troll on Twitter. And then there is this tweet that says, "Dennis Rodman could go on a 3-day bender, show up to the court hungover, and still be a better defender than Draymond." So there were a lot of people who were coming out and saying, Draymond doesn't hold a candle to Dennis Rodman, and so it was just too big of a statement. So Jackie, let's discuss this. Do you feel like this is too big of a statement for Draymond to be making about himself?
So y'all know Dennis Rodman is my favorite defensive player of all time. Like, he was the person I tried to really emulate because I just think he is hands down the best, and his stats, even aren't like astronomically better than a lot of people, but I just really do think he is the best defender of all time. That's just my personal opinion. I know I've said it time and time again. Everybody has their personal opinion about who they think is the best, but he's my best. I love Draymond, I do, but this statement is just, you have to overlook a lot of people. You have to overlook Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, and Kevin Garnett, his stats are insane. So I can't even, and Draymond's never going to get there. Draymond's never going to reach the level that Kevin Garnett did. And I know y'all get mad at me when I mention this name, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Rudy Gobert has better defensive stats than Draymond Green. So Do I think Draymond is an overall better defender? Yes, there's some intangibles in there, but stat-wise, Rudy Gobert is putting up better numbers and he's doing more for his team defensively, stat-wise. So I'm not. I don't want to say I'm not mad because I am kind of mad because for you to say I'm the best defender that the Warriors have ever seen, I'm the best defender in our dynasty. If you kind of center it for the Warriors, I would co-sign on it. But to say the best defender of all time, the list of people, Dikembe Mutombo, the people you have to overlook to say this is really, really long. So I just don't know how I can make this make sense for Draymond. I really, when I saw we were going to talk about this, I tried, because y'all know I love Draymond. I tried to make it make sense. I failed. I couldn't do it for Draymond, and because it's just, the list is just too long. It's like he's never watched a 30 for 30 or anything that talks about, especially the old school defenders who were doing stupid numbers. Kevin Garnett has, I think. Let me remember this, because somebody was averaging. Dave Robinson was averaging 3 blocks per game. Y'all know how insane it is to average. The list is just too long. I can't give it to Draymond. I'm sorry. I love you, but I can't give it to him.
Well, it sounds like that's the same sentiment that a lot of people had. Do you feel that, regardless of whether or not this statement it has, is truthful at all, is this the exact kind of confidence that athletes need to have? Do they need to go into a game thinking, I'm the best that ever did this position? Or is that kind of mentality almost detrimental because it's like Icarus flying too close to the sun?
No, I definitely think you need to think you're the best. I think you need to think that every time you step on the floor, there's nobody past, present, or future to do it better than you. I think that's the mindset you need to have, and you need to try to make sure that your play emulates that. But thinking that and saying that are two different things. I just don't know if this is something that you should say out loud. I see you guys in the chat talking about Rudy Gobert is not as good as Draymond. Again, I'm not making that argument. What I'm saying is, if you look at the numbers, Rudy Gobert has better numbers. And when you've got people like Rudy Gobert who has better numbers than you, things you don't say is, I'm the best to ever do it. You can think that. And again, I think that he's the best defender the Warriors have ever seen, but I would have to probably go back just to make sure that statement is accurate. But to my recollection, he's definitely the best defender the Warriors have ever seen. And again, I totally believe that every player, whether you coming off the bench or not, if you're coming off the bench, you should fully believe that you're supposed to be a starter. And if they would start you, that you would be the best player the NBA has ever seen. You should believe that. Just maybe don't say it. That's all I'm saying. But you definitely should believe it.
It's funny because looking at the chat and then looking at the Twitter responses that I saw, nobody agrees with Draymond. I haven't seen a single person say Draymond is the best defender in NBA history. I haven't seen one person. So I think that when you do come out and you make such a bold statement like that, you're opening yourself up to this kind of criticism and ridicule. And I don't think that that's going to help your case at all the next time you suit up for a game. It's like you're almost, yes, be confident, go into the game with the mentality that you're the best to ever do it. But saying it out loud opens you up for that kind of criticism. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that's going to knock you off your game, because you're going to get all these Twitter mentions, you're going to get all these DMs with people just dragging you for making a statement like that. So especially when it is pretty easy to name people who have done it better, which is what we're seeing in these tweets. There's tweets that list like 9-10 names that are like, yeah, these are all people that have done it better than you. So it's a little bit...
if he said it at the beginning of his career, you know what I mean? Like if he'd have said, oh, I'm the best defender to ever do it, even if he was only like a year into his career, then we could just laugh at him and be like, oh, he's young. He's just saying something ridiculous. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. And we could just brush it off. But you're at the tail end of your career. Your stats are declining every year now. And so this is not the time to call yourself the best, because you are going to get back on the floor and we can show you why you're not. So again, timing might have been a little bit different. If he would have said it at the beginning of his career, we would have laughed at him and been like, but it would have been funny because he's young, and we would have all praised him for it. Like, that's the kind of tenacity you want your young guy to have. But when you have been in the game this long, I don't know, you just don't say it right now. The timing is bad.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of young kids having a lot of confidence, Jackie's going to be showing us something really funny in the post up about a high school hooper who definitely was a little too cocky. And I'm excited for that. But that's the kind of thing, like, you watch that high school kid and you're like, oh, like, love that he thought he could or whatever, and it's almost a little bit endearing. But when you're Draymond, I mean, how old is Draymond now? I don't even know, but you're right. He is towards
No.
he is towards the tail end of his career, and coming out with something like that is just a little bit like, oof. I don't know. It's hard to see it. It's hard to see it. Let's get into Kevin Durant. Okay, so the Nets are taking their time with Kevin Durant. They want to make sure that he's as healthy as possible so that he can go onto the court, play in a game, especially the games that matter. So he's been out since February 13th with a hamstring strain, and there's really still no secure or definitive timeline for when he is going to come back. And Steve Nash suggested that he would be able to return very soon, but for games of higher magnitude. So they don't want to risk him injuring himself or, wasting his energy on the games that don't really matter. He said, quote, "We're just trying to make sure that functional strength is there and that we're confident he can re-enter playing safely." That's the thing, right? Kevin's doing very well. If this was the playoff, there's a chance he'd be back, very soon, but there's no point in taking a big risk with him when the most important thing is to get him back for the remainder of the season. Now, the Nets are doing really well, even though KD hasn't been playing with them. But it kind of makes some people wonder, and Jackie, I wonder if you agree, do you think that they're not really telling us the full story about the extent of his injury, or are they just trying to preserve this superstar so that come playoff time, he is just absolutely ready to go?
I don't know if it matters. They've played 16 games since he went out on the 13th, and they've won 14. So there's absolutely no rush. And I don't know if I necessarily think that they're not telling us something, but I do think their memory might be long. I think their memory might be kind of looking back to when he came back a little prematurely when he was with the Warriors, and then wha-bam, he was right back out. And so since you're out here winning, what's the point? This is almost word for word. They're doing exactly what I said the Lakers should do, even though the Lakers, because we've clearly seen that the Lakers can't win without superstars, so it's different. When you have the depth chart and the squad that the Nets have, there is no point in rushing your guy back early. They're getting it done without him, so it's fine. The flip side on the Lakers is we can't get it done without LeBron and AD. So if you slip a little bit early on, that's one thing. But to start slipping now, they haven't won a game since LeBron went out. So you need to conserve your superstar, and you don't know what's ahead for you. You don't know, knock on wood, I don't wish injuries on anybody. But if somebody else gets injured, down the line, closer to playoffs, okay, if Kevin Durant is ready, you pull him now. But there's no point if y'all are out here winning 16 games, you win 14. I don't even know why this is a conversation. They're doing the right thing. If there's something they're not telling us, keep not telling us that, because there's no need for you to tell us because you out here winning. If he is healed but you're playing him safe, keep doing that because you're still out here winning. So when you have that kind of squad, you can really do what you need to do, whatever you want to do that you feel is best for not only your players but your team because you're out here winning. So however they're playing it the right way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, when that is a stacked roster, and when you have superstars like James Harden and Kyrie, and Blake Griffin there, it's a luxury that you're able to afford. So do you think that since we don't, I guess we are questioning the extent of his injuries, do you think that we are for sure going to be seeing KD in a game in the playoffs, or do you think that there's potential that he may even be sitting out for that and that maybe things are worse than we thought?
I mean, I don't think that they're worse than we thought, but again, if they are worse than we think, if his injury is a lot worse than what they're telling us, well played once again, because what you don't want is your enemies out here thinking, okay, once they get to the playoffs, they're not going to have KD. You want to go out there and prove that you can get it done without him. So again, however this is going down, you don't let my dad used to always say, you never let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. If they're hiding something from us, again, well played, because that's none of our business. Y'all handle that in-house. You don't really need to say anything. If they were losing, then we would probably know if there was something more to his injury, because then we would hear, oh, he's doing this and that to try to get back early because the team really needs him and they can't win without him. But since that's not the narrative, they don't have to say anything. And so I I don't know if there's something more to his injury. I'm veering towards the side of no, there's not. But again, if there is, well played for keeping that under wraps, because you're not telling nobody your business, and that is smart. So well played either way.
Dennis Davis in the chat is going so far as to say Brooklyn doesn't even need KD. What's your reaction to a statement like that? It almost seems like they really don't need KD.
I'm saying when they've played 16 games without you and won 14, Kevin Durant doesn't need to be in that narrative either way. And things always kind of level up in the playoffs. At least they should level up in the playoffs. So once again, right now, I would have to agree with that statement that we don't need him, because we've won 14 games. So it's not again. I hate to harp on LeBron and the Lakers and AD, but look what's happening. When AD went out, our win percentage went down, but we were still okay. LeBron's gone out and we've lost 3 in a row. You have to talk about LeBron's injury. You have to talk about AD's injury, because you can't even have a conversation about the Lakers in the playoffs if you don't have LeBron and AD. You don't have to talk about Kevin Durant because they're doing what they need to do. So I know this is not what probably Kevin Durant wants to hear, that he doesn't need to be in this conversation, but he really doesn't. As long as your squad is doing, and this is why you need a dope depth chart. This is why it's always tough when you have a couple of superstars, but guys who don't really play their role, because now you end up in a situation where when one card falls, the whole house tumbles. And that's what the Lakers are in. The Nets are proving that, no, we are deep. Our squad is deep. If one of us goes out, we got it. If he comes back in, you in that much more trouble. That the Nets is doing it the right way, regardless. And I'm going to say it again. If he has a bigger injury than we know and they're not telling us, it's because they don't have to, because they're still out here winning. So I hate to say it, but shouts out to the Nets. They doing it the right way.
They are. And I feel like the Brooklyn Nets are a perfect example of why a super team, I mean, I know everybody hates a super team because it seems like this unfair advantage. I honestly have never had a problem with it, because I'm like, if you guys all want to get together and you want to work hard and get a championship under your belt, who are we to judge that? I mean, of course, what KD did was a little bit different with the Warriors, but I feel like having a super team gives you that flexibility to rest one of the superstars and take your time with an injury. But also right now with the Nets, what we're also seeing is that James Harden is really holding it down. So, Jackie, do you feel that this is a truer testament to the benefits of having a super team, or is it showing us that all you really need is one solid, reliable player in order to be a threat in a game?
I mean, both can work. You can have one superstar with guys who know their role and play their role well. We sleep on role players. We always kind of look at the superstars in the game, but we can't sleep on role players, because a solid role player will get you over a lot of humps. So you can have one superstar and a bunch of solid role players. You can't have role players like Kyle Kuzma, who's dope on a Monday and trash on a Thursday. So you got to be a consistent role player. But you can definitely have role players, or you can have what they're having. I saw, I think it was Jeremiah in the chat that said that the Nets don't have a deep bench. And I think that's also a valuable thing. But when you're looking at the Nets, this is when your bench, when you don't really have a deep bench, you still might be okay, because your starters are all superstars. Blake, I love Blake. It's just my personal thing with Blake, but he's declining right now, but he's still a solid player. He's still going to go out there and be an asset to your team. So if you do have to give him rest and you let some bench guy come in here who's not really doing their job, then you just send Blake back in. So the key is, and I've said this 100 times, I'm going to say it again, the key is staying healthy. If being healthy means you need to rest, then rest. I would rather them rest KD right now and have him come in later than to put him in right now and then we have a flashback of what happened with him in the Warriors. Again, it might not mean a whole lot, because we're seeing right now that they don't need him. And I see somebody in the chat said, or I think it was Kevin in the chat said that in the playoffs people level down. That I don't know. I don't know. You have to level up in the playoffs because people are coming for you. So I don't know. I think this one, again, I think this was great that what the Nets are doing. And when you have this is a true superstar team though. When everybody is doing what they're supposed to do, this is dope. It's dope. I mean, I can't hate on it. I want to, but I can't.
I know. We were prepared to hate all season, and so far they've totally exceeded expectations. But Kevin has an interesting take. He says that the Nets will start losing when KD comes back. He is the ego that they worried about Harden having. I wonder about that. I mean, KD does have an ego, and we saw how he doesn't like it when he doesn't receive the praise and love that his teammates have. But I think that with this Kyrie and James Harden situation, they're all kind of prepared to be sharing the spotlight. Jackie, do you agree with me, or do you think that KD could come in and be the ego that sort of disrupts the chemistry that's going on over there?
If their egos were going to cause a problem, I feel like it would have happened by now. We expected this to fail off top. And it didn't. Mm-hmm. It did not. They had their little hiccups. Again, I'm going to equate that to chemistry because even when you start a new regular job, you got to get to know each other, figure out what works well together. They had a few hiccups, but they didn't have this all-out egos clashing. You guys can look into your own personal lives. You've seen egos clashing, and you know what that looks like. You've had probably that one person that you've worked with that has an ego, and it clashes, and one of y'all taps out. Either the person with the ego was like, oh, I just don't want to deal with that person anymore, or you tap out and be like, I can't, and you might even sabotage it in a certain way. I've been in situations where not when I was playing basketball, but when I was playing volleyball, it becomes a thing. Like, I'm going to keep the ball away from this chick because she's not a team player. Is that a good thing? No. But her ego pissed me off and I reacted. And you see this on teams. Sometimes it's subconscious. Sometimes it's like me and I'm like, okay, I got you. But it happens because the ego is always there. And I think that especially when we see people like Kyrie taking time off and we know it's for his birthday and we're not seeing any shade from a burner account that KD has or James Harden isn't speaking on it. These are things that we're used to seeing from all three of these guys and we're not seeing it. So it seems like they're gelling. I wouldn't even be mad if one of them probably DMs or sends him a birthday present because they just don't care because again, they're winning. Everything moves differently when you're winning. When you're losing, all of a sudden it becomes, why the hell are you taking your birthday off? And when are you coming back? But those conversations don't need to happen right now because they're winning. So everybody's ego can exist happily on this winning plane. I just don't see, I see KD coming back and their chemistry gelling even better because now it's a lot less pressure when you know the team that everything's firing on all cylinders. So I don't agree with that sentiment at all. And I usually agree with Kevin, but I don't agree at all. I think when he comes in, they level up. I see Diverse Conscious in the chat says KD is passive aggressive. Watch if they start losing. Y'all really just don't like KD. Okay, and I don't like KD either, but I don't have the level of dislike for him that y'all seem to have in the chat.
I know.
So he's and I think all of these guys want to win. And I think sometimes when you are on a squad and you can literally see the light at the end of the tunnel, some of your ego has to subside because the goal is always the final destination. And I see y'all, they say, wait for the playoffs. I'm going to screenshot this right now. Y'all think I'm playing. I'm about to screenshot y'all. And then when we get to the playoffs, I'm going to call all y'all out. When y'all hear this click, this is a screenshot. I'm screenshotting y'all right now. Bam. I know y'all heard that.
It's funny because last week we had a chat full of KD lovers, and they didn't like it when I said that KD was too sensitive. They were like, this girl doesn't even watch basketball. I'm like, okay, like just go take a look walk down memory lane a little bit. It's not that hard to find. It's a common thing that people say about KD anyway. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting to see how well the Nets are doing without KD in their lineup. And once he comes back, I guess we're going to see if he is something that comes in and actually enhances the chemistry that they have or if he disrupts it. I don't think he's going to be disrupting it. I think that they are all too focused on winning for him to come in and let an ego, kind of change the dynamics. So We'll see what happens, you guys. But thanks for chiming in the chat. And now let's move on to the post up.
Yes, I can't wait for the playoffs now because y'all. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into this post up. Because Devin talked about this a little earlier, and we kind of touched on it with Draymond. I do think that kids have, I don't want to say an unfounded confidence, but when you're a kid, you think you're invincible. You think you can do everything. And I'm not mad at the kid who thought this in this particular instance, because I know we've all heard of the name Mamba, and we all refer that to Kobe. It's Black Mamba. I'm going to be honest. When I saw this, White Mamba school's kid, I was like, who in the hell is the White Mamba? If you don't know him, do not feel bad, because this man, at the height of his career, when he was really the man, he was averaging 6.3 points per game and 4 rebounds. That was the height of his career. So it's weird to me to even call him the White Mamba. His real name is Brian. Yep. White Mamba it is. Scalabrine.
Scalabrini.
I'm be out here like, what's the baboose? I'm not trying to embarrass myself. White Mamba it is, y'all. But he played in the league from 2001 to 2012. And again, in this kid's defense, I fully expected him to go out here and show this kid up, show this old man up, because he got, his physique ain't quite right. So I kind of thought he was going to win, but he didn't. So check this out. It's kind of funny.
I get in the video. I get in the video. First clap. I got Mike's. Okay, Dave. Press right now.
What's the game, too? It's just whatever. You're going to just dribble around till I get my ass tired. Where you guys play?
Talk to me, Jay. Get that shit out of here. Hey. Oh. Hey. Hey.
He said hit the weight room.
Hey.
Baby.
Wait, they play for kids?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Okay, so thankfully my producer sent it to me and said Scalabrine, okay, whatever, White Mamba it is. And I see y'all in the chat, don't disrespect the White Mamba. I am the height of his career, 6.3 points a game. But okay, yes, he definitely schooled this young man. So the moral of the story, kids, is if you're in high school, you're probably not better than that athlete that you think is not so good in the NBA. So that's the moral of the story. But there's other careers, because in my head, if I would have seen this, I'd have been like, my God, you couldn't even really school this guy. He old, number one, number two. You stop it. So I had a little bit of a problem with it, and so did Twitter. It was hilarious to see some of the things that people were saying on Twitter. He said he can't beat no kids ranked in the top 50 in high school. Cut it out. Brian was terrible. That's why we take it personal when people call him out that he played 11 years and shot 39% from the field. And he's a big man. This person took it a little too far, though, and said that's white privilege for you. No, that's not a privilege to only be 39% from the field. That's not a privilege at all. So I think he took it a little too far there at the end, but I see what you was trying to do. But then I like the next response as well, because people use numbers to judge athletic talent and value, don't know basketball. That's true. Kinda, because if you're just watching a box score, and that doesn't really tell you a lot of the intangibles that happen during the game. But I'm still not giving that to the White Mamba. This does not apply to the White Mamba for me, but that's just me. I see some of y'all in the chat saying don't disrespect him. I'm going to continue on this disrespect train though, because it just ain't it for me. So this one says there's a thing called playing your role. Oh, I just said this. Play your role. Teams play their role. Teams want you. You stay in the league, possibly even win a championship, and that's true. That is very, very true. We have guys that just kind of do what they're supposed to do, and that's important. So every drive that Scalabrine had in this video ended up in a travel. Every effing one. which is status quo for the NBA. He wasn't better than this high school kid. He just decided the rules of basketball didn't apply to him. I'm going to go with that one just because this guy is not that good to me. Devin, I'm going to go to you. You guys got to go back and watch highlights. YouTube is your friend. They're not impressive highlights. This is a person that I would fully expect, maybe not I don't know if this kid was a senior in high school. I might expect a top 50 senior in high school to look a little bit better than this. And I see you in the chat, Kevin. Numbers don't lie. My mom used to always say that numbers don't lie, people do. So there's a little bit of truth to that. So what do you think about your boy getting shown up by this white mom? I'm not calling him that. I'm not calling him that. This guy. I'm not calling him that.
I don't want to call him that either. Not a big fan of that nickname. I think that it just goes to show that an NBA athlete or a pro athlete in any league is going to be much better than just a regular Joe. I'm sure this high school kid was probably a good basketball player. I don't know if he would be top 50 or whatever, but he obviously went into it thinking like, this guy averaged 3 points in his last season in the NBA. Like, I'm for sure going to be able to just crush him. But when you've got that pro experience under your belt, I think it kind of changes what you're able to do. So that's what I took away from it, is that a pro athlete, even if they are a mediocre one with modest stats, is still going to be better than just a person who plays, recreationally or just for fun as like a high school team sport. That was my takeaway.
He did cheat on that last basket, though. He bumped him, took a step, and didn't dribble. That is definitely a travel. So he did cheat. And I'm sure there was more highlights that we didn't see, but he did cheat on that last shot.
Look at we see travels all the time though in the NBA that don't necessarily get called out. So can we really be that mad about it?
When you're playing a kid, yes, a kid. He's a child. Play fair. That's just me. And you're probably right. It probably wouldn't get called. I saw a highlight from the women's NCAA challenge or tournament, and it was a full-on flagrant foul. Girl pushed the girl, but the girl she pushed kind of flew back, and it wasn't even a flop. It was like you hit her all in the mouth, and the ref called a travel. So clearly, these refs, I put on my Instagram, I'm about to apply to be a ref because I don't think there's any prerequisites for it because you can just get out there and do it. So we're going to move on to this next one, though, because apparently you guys are thinking now that female refs are just able to be charmed into something. And I don't know if a woman smiling necessarily means that this NBA player is charming her. So if you didn't see this, there's this tweet going around, and it has the time when Luka charmed. She was a little smitten. I will say that Luka definitely had her a little bit smitten. But now they're saying Bogdanovich has this ref right here smitten. And to me, it looks like something funny might have just happened. But the way her hand is positioned, it does kind of look like, what's going on here? I tried to find the actual play where this happened so I could kind of hear or see what had happened, but I couldn't find it. But this one implies that first Luka, now Bogdanovich, female refs are in danger. So y'all really think that these females are just about to be in trouble from these male players? Yeah, that's what. Anyway, so let me just get to what some. I just don't see it that way and I'm gonna tell you why I don't see it this way is because this kind of exchange happens between male refs and male players all the time. Nobody says anything, but this person says yes because women only ever work their butts off to become the best of the best in their chosen field so they can F the first dude that speaks to them. And somebody responds back to them and says, imagine saying Luka is just the first dude that speaks to them, which the next person says it's obviously a joke. But yeah, I don't think that the female refs are looking to do something like that. I think this is ridiculous. And look it up, you guys. I'm not even making this up. Flirting is healthy. There are scientific studies that say flirting is healthy. That's number one. So I'm not mad at anybody who's kind of a hopeless flirt. That's number one. And number two, again, this happens between men and men in the NBA. I'm going to show you my favorite clip of all time. It's one of the few things that I love about Michael Jordan. And this is what being smitten looks like. This is not about a woman. This is what being smitten looks like. Take a look.
Sounds. Listen to this conversation.
He never controlled it, Michael. He never
picked it up and then he
but he didn't touch it with both hands.
Yeah,
That's the
he
thing.
did.
You
Yeah,
think
he
so,
did.
Michael? 55 hits, 2 to come. Michael, I didn't see 2 hands on him, Michael.
Yeah.
But I believe you.
He did.
But I believe you. I saw one. I only saw the one hand on him.
See, this is the difference, right? Everyone laughed that off. Everyone, and that clip gets played all the time, and people just be like, "Oh, ha 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 ha." But if that had been a woman that said, "Oh, but I believe you," y'all would have drugged that woman to the heavens. And it's ridiculous. It's 2 people on the floor sharing a laugh, and that's what the game is supposed to be. Everything's not supposed to be all like whatever y'all think it is. I don't know. I just get annoyed when people assume that women are smitten by these men on the court. Devin, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's funny and ridiculous that people have that attitude towards it, because we've seen so many refs smiling or laughing. And I actually did a video about this earlier today. It may already be up now. I'm not sure. But there's Giannis with 2 separate refs who are smiling with him. There's something else I forgot. Another one I can't remember. I think James Harden making refs laugh. So it happens all the time. And just because a woman laughs does not mean that she wants to sleep with you. And I think that that's a whole different lesson in consent, maybe, that we need to go over with people.
Right. That's true. That's true. Yeah, that was touche, Devin. That was perfect. But let's move on to this next one, because I think we've reached that point in all of our lives where we need to stop calling Cuffs the legend LeBron James's friend. I just don't believe, or if we're going to call him, we all have that one uncle that says the most ridiculous things that we just kind of roll our eyes at, like, oh, here he comes about to tell some ridiculous, outlandish lie. That's who Cuffs the legend is. I don't think he's like a friend. I think he's somebody that LeBron might just tolerate, because this is asinine. As the president and founder of LeBron Sexuals Forever, I hereby rebuke Cuffs the legend. He is not a part of the squad. He's not down with us. We do not claim him. Just know that. We do not like this man like that. Let me show you this tweet that he posted, or this thing that he said. It says, KD, Kyrie Irving, and Harden are scared of LeBron James, says Cuffs the legend. This is his exact quote. I have regular conversations. Let that sink in. Cuffs the legend is saying, I have regular conversations with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, and they are telling me that they are afraid of LeBron James. I don't even, where do we start? First of all, they're not calling you. I would bet my last dollar that you have never been on the phone. Maybe Kyrie. Maybe you were on the phone with Kyrie once or twice when he was in Cleveland. Maybe. But they are not calling you and being like, bro, I'm so scared of LeBron James. No, they're not. We'll get situations like Draymond will say something ridiculous, like, I'm the best to ever do it. That's a thing. If you would have said they were calling you saying, yeah, they're going to run over everybody, I would believe that. We just talked about their egos. That's entirely possible. But they're not calling you saying, well, I know you're LeBron James' friend, but I'm so afraid of LeBron. That's not happening. The lies. I cannot with the lies. I hereby and forever, hereto and forevermore, rebuke this man from the LeBron Sexual Club. He is not with us. We do not know him. We cannot be held responsible for anything this man says or does in the future. Pass it on. He's not with us. He's not with us. I
just wonder. Sorry about that. I just wonder, like, does he think that people are going to read that headline and really believe him? That's what's really hard for me to wrap my head around, because the narrative this whole time has been that Cuffs the legend is LeBron's friend, whether we like it or not. So are we really expected to believe that his opponents are calling LeBron's friend and admitting that they're afraid of LeBron? It's honestly so ridiculous that it's not even believable, and it's embarrassing that he would come out with any statement like that. I just wish I could understand why he thinks that people are going to believe that, right?
Like, how does the conversation go? Hey, what you doing, Cuffs? Oh, I'm sitting here chilling. What you doing? I'm over here just thinking about how scared I am of LeBron. Like, how does this conversation even go? What? baking a cake,
So
trying to calm my fear of LeBron, playing 2K, trying to calm my fear of LeBron. Even if it was a thing, and I'm not saying it was, even if it was a thing, you do not admit fear of anyone. You go out and proclaim your greatness. Period. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I just no. I know for a fact that these phone calls did not happen. And I'm just saying that. So remember, he has been rebuked from the LeBron Sexuals fan club. He's not with us, okay? Just know that. I'm going to move on to this next one because I do have my favorites in the league. You guys probably should know this. I know a lot of you are new here, but I do have a lot of favorites. Magic Johnson, to me, is the greatest point guard of all time. I will not entertain. Y'all know I don't really entertain conversations once I say somebody is great, though. I don't entertain conversations beyond Irvin Magic Johnson. He is it. He is the number one guy for me, period, hands down. Now that I got that out the way, let me say this. I didn't watch a lot of Lonzo's first season with the Pelicans because why would I? He wasn't with the Lakers anymore, so it didn't mean a lot to me to see what he was doing over there. But I did watch a lot of him and his 1 year with UCLA, and I saw a lot of reasons why he should have stayed in college for at least another 1, maybe 2 years. And so when he came to the Lakers, I just didn't see him being that great. So I know he's leveled up now. His second season with the Pelicans, I think he's definitely leveled up a lot than when he started with the Lakers. And there's a lot of reasons for that I'm not going to get into. But I still think that he has a long way to go. And he's not at his peak now. I think he's leveling up every single year. Who knows who he's going to become? I'm very excited to see him at his peak and what that will look like. But he's not there right now. Okay? That being said, I'm going to give y'all Irvin Magic Johnson and what he says about Lonzo, because I'm going to have a difficult time arguing this because I do think Magic is the greatest of all time. But just hear what he has to say about Lonzo.
I'm going to tell you this. There's no guard in this league, point guard, whose basketball IQ is higher than Lonzo Ball. The IQ of Lonzo Ball is off the chart.
So we're talking about in a league where there's Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, countless others. Irvin Magic Johnson says that Lonzo Ball has the highest basketball IQ of any point guard in the league. Again, I'm not going to argue with the man that I'm calling the greatest point guard to ever do it, but I would like to take this time to point out that one of the reasons why he did not work out as president of basketball operations for the Lakers was because he was not focused on basketball. So perhaps he's seeing, I don't know. I don't know, but I do want to give Stan DeMann a shout out for giving us an accurate interpretation of Lonzo right now in shooting practice. And I'm not going to say anything other than I'm just going to post this because I'm not going to go against what Irvin Magic Johnson, the greatest point guard of all time, has to say about Lonzo. I'm just a little confused. That's all. I don't. It's just Devin. I don't know if you think he's the greatest point guard of all time, so I'm gonna let you take it because I don't know. I'm so.
I would not go so far as to say that Lonzo is the greatest point guard. I like what Dennis wrote here.
He said the highest IQ. I'm saying Magic is the greatest point guard of all time. Oh. And the greatest point guard of all time is saying that Lonzo has the highest basketball IQ right now.
That's what I meant to say. I do not agree. I can't really see where he was coming from with that. And I think that, so Dennis wrote here in the chat saying, yo, J Ray, I think Magic hit the blunt and then did that interview.
Because he did stutter because he was like, he did stutter. So maybe I it's so bad to say this, but I really hope you're right because you just coming out there saying that with both. Now I am going to go start watching more of Lonzo's play now because of my fondness for Magic. I don't want to believe my man out here just saying just nonsense. So, hey, Pelicans, now you're going to have, at least for now, I know he's in trade talks, so we'll see how that goes. But for right now, I'm going to go back and watch some stuff. So, okay. I don't know. Okay, let's move on to this next one, because this next one, I'm going to let a longer portion of this play, because how Jameis is responding to playing alongside Drew Brees, his reaction is exactly how I reacted when Drew Brees retired, because I was like, I had been saying that Drew needed to retire because his play was declining. He looked like he wanted to pass. Everyone was calling him noodle arm, and I hated that, but unfortunately it was accurate. But 15 years, 15 years of watching this man and him being the cornerstone of this franchise, and then knowing that it's time for him to retire, and then he's kind of holding you hostage for a while. You don't know if he's going to stay. You don't know if he's going to go. And then finally he retires. I got emotional when I was talking about it on a podcast. I was like, okay, so Drew Brees. So I'm just going to show you. Jameis is going to be out here representing for all of Who Dat Nation on our love, hate, or not even hate, but our admiration for Drew Brees. Take a look.
Like, being able to have an entire season with Drew Brees was a dream of mine. Like, and for him to put his arm around me, or just give me any encouraging words after I saw the resilience, the passion, the way that he went and approached every single day. But that to even be a story, like I was touched by that, because he doesn't even know how much he means to me and my family, for real. But I'm not gonna share what he shared with me. I don't even remember, but it touched me. Having a chance to play in the playoffs after, like, winning a playoff game, like getting a chance to throw a touchdown in the playoffs. Like, I love football. That's all I've done my entire life. And someone that I look up to, that I admire, that I actually could touch, was my teammate, and I had a chance to serve him. Like, man, I'm speechless to that. Like, that really gets me emotional, because I really love Drew Brees. Like, I don't think he understands. I know my wife do. I know my family do, but y'all don't understand the impact that him and a lot of other quarterbacks had on me as a quarterback growing up in Bessemer, Alabama. Y'all don't never understand, like, a lot of people don't understand that human aspect to an athlete. But
yeah, I'm gonna stop right there, because he goes on and on. But this to me was just so if you don't really understand what he's saying, I'm sure if we kind of circle back and ask Teddy Bridgewater, you'd have a better idea, because Teddy Bridgewater went from this guy that no one was really checking for to he really got out there and he led the way for the Saints. And that all comes from the tutelage of Drew Brees. And I was just so moved by this. I got a little teary-eyed just watching it. I'm a little teary-eyed right now, because Drew impacts. There's not a lot of guys that I really check for in the NFL the way I check for, like, LeBron James, but Drew was the closest, because not only what he means to that team, but what he means to that city, and how he just individually, we see so many quarterbacks in the league that they get very standoffish when this young guy comes up, because they don't want to hand over the reins. And Drew is the exact opposite of that. You can just go back and watch tape, and he is in the ears of these young guys, telling them, what to do, how they can get better. And he is the one that handed Jameis the reins and told him this was his team. So shouts out to Jameis for being so transparent and so honest about what Drew Brees means to him. And I love this next tweet, because, again, you can kind of reflect back on what it meant to Teddy Bridgewater. And he said he needed to have the brakes put on, sit, marinate, observe, learn, take in wisdom of a true leader. All young quarterbacks need to be guided. I will bet his approach to the game will be significantly different. And I agree. And get it right, Jeremiah. It was 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. He did throw 3 more touchdowns than he threw interceptions. But the thing of the matter is he also threw the most passing yards that season. And this is where we sometimes kind of miss it. We throw young guys into the fire, but that's just not how a lot of these guys came about. Steve Young was the best that he was because he got to sit under Joe Montana. So when you kind of really look at the seasoned greats, they all had a moment in time where they could sit and watch another great. And so this is an amazing opportunity for Jameis. I really hope he capitalizes on that. But let me jump into this next one because your girl out here is hating on her mama. Kaavia James, she's back to hating on Gabby. And she's a daddy's girl, and I love it. I'm not mad at daddy's girls. I'm a daddy's girl. The daddy's going to get his food first, mama. I'm sorry, but take a look at this. It's adorable.
Can I have some of daddy's grapes? But can't mommies have some daddy's grapes?
The daddy grapes.
Don't worry, Mommy. It's daddy grapes.
Well, I have to worry because what if mommy wanted some grapes?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Daddy's fine.
Just grapes for daddy.
Mommy.
Oh, thank you. One grape.
She is such a doll, and I love how Dwyane Wade is just eating it up. Like, yeah, she gave me this whole container. You enjoy that one grape over there. I love it. I love it. I love it. But let me jump really quick into this next one before I get into what we're not going to do, because this is going down as my all-time favorite post-up of all time. I love this man so much. I've been on the Fumble for like 2 years now. Never in my life have I pulled a tweet from somebody that I was like, I'm going to start following this person because they're that dope. I now am following Andrew Clay from KATC News because even though the NCAA has all these rules about you can't play their footage until this time and all that, he found a workaround and he personally did it. And I am such a fan of how he created this workaround. Take a look.
With the NCAA's rules on highlights, they're complex, antiquated, and they say I can't show you the highlights until the post-game show ends on CBS at about 11:30. But they don't say I can't open up MS Paint and go to town. Roll it, Brandy. Will Wade trying to take LSU to the Sweet 16 for the second straight tournament. Cam Thomas red hot early. 19 first half points for the freshman. The ball was on fire. LSU led by as many as 9, but Michigan battled back, outscoring LSU by 10 in the final 7:30. Eli Brooks with a team-high 12. So in the second half, Tigers steal back momentum. It's Thomas again from 3. He scored 30. But Juwan Howard keeping his team calm as the Wolverines respond with a 14-1 to run. Sean D. Brown going for 21 off the bench. The Wolverines steal the momentum, and Ann Arbor faithful rise to their feet. Michigan never looks back.
I am a fan. I don't care what y'all say. This was fantastically and honestly done. And I just need to see more of Andrew Clay. And this user agrees with that on a much bigger level. Says, hey, at ESPN, let this man draw all of our highlights one day this summer on SportsCenter. You're welcome. And Andrew says, best idea on the internet right now. Hats off to you, Andrew. I salute you. That was the best workaround I have ever seen, and I'm here for it. So that's all I have for the post up. Let me really quickly jump into what we not gonna do, because I think this one is perfectly timed for what we're going through right now in this kind of witch hunt that I believe we're seeing for Deshaun Watson. This story is kind of like, I don't know, it gives me hope in some of the situations that we're seeing right now, because this woman decided to tell the truth. Again, you're kind of just having to take her word for it. So it's not that much different than the women, in the Deshaun Watson case, but it's still super dope if it's true, how her approach to this. Now, if you guys aren't tennis fans, which I still feel even if you're not a tennis fan, you would still know Novak Djokovic, because he has won, 82 career singles and 18 Grand Slams. The man is a beast on the tennis court. So he's obviously well known in the tennis world. I've seen some commercials for him. So he's doing his thing. He's doing very, very well. But according to this woman, her name is Natalia. She's a Siberian, I think. Anyway, she's an IG model. And she's saying that somebody approached her to try to damage his reputation. They wanted to damage Novak's reputation, and they wanted to use her to do it. So according to her, some guy called her and was like, hey, I got a business idea for you, and we should meet. And she says, okay, cool. So she went to this meeting, and then the person that she met with, after kind of getting to know her a little bit, was like, hey, what I want you to do is I want you to seduce Novak and get him to sleep with you, and then capture that video, capture that sexual encounter on video. And she said at first she thought it was some sort of like, you know, hidden camera videos. I know there's that one show that says, what would you do? And they hide the cameras in the restaurant or something, and they do this most outlandish, like really detrimental act to see how people will react. She thought it was something like that. So she said that it was ridiculous. Her quote was, he told me I could get about 60,000 euros for that and a trip to wherever I wanted to go. I had laughed, expecting him to say it was a joke, but he was very serious. I felt very offended and humiliated. I gathered my things and I left. And I hope he didn't find a girl who wants to do that, because it's not fair to Novak. He's our best ambassador, an exemplary man, and a family man. So, I mean, I don't know. This is one of those things that I kind of believe, because that's the best way to kind of take a man down when he gets to that status where he's just so high up. The first thing you want to do is damage his credibility and hit his reputation. So I really kind of believe her on this. And she said the reason why she's going public with this is to prevent other women from doing this. Or I would even go one further to, if this comes out, everybody kind of knows what's going on. He's been married since 2014. For this woman to come out and say, I didn't want to damage his marriage, I didn't want to damage his reputation, but there is a man out here, and who knows who he's attached to. You never know. He might be attached to the Houston Texans, the way this is all playing out right now. But there was a man who was obviously attached to something who wants to damage this man's reputation for whatever reason. And if this is true, if this is remotely true, I salute this woman, because I think a lot of women in this situation would take it. You know, technically, I think it's $70,000 here. If you offer probably any IG model, if you ask 10 IG models to go and do something like this, I think 9 of them would say, okay. You'd probably have to up it to $100,000, but I think 9 of them would say, okay. No shade. I just think that because we've seen this time and time again, money rules the world around us. And sometimes people compromise their integrity. I had a businessman, and I'm not going to mention his name, but I have a business friend who makes about $12 million a year. And we've had a conversation about morals. And he has told me on several occasions that once you get to a certain income, morals are optional. And I think that is a deplorable thing to say, but we've seen it time and time again, what people will do for money. So the fact that this woman turned the money down, and because she did it because she thinks this is a good man, I salute her. So what we're not going to do is skip over the goodness of this woman, especially if this story was true, because she could have taken it, and then where would we be today? So shouts out to her. That's all I got for what we're not going to do. Devin, are you surprised to hear a story like that?
I don't want to say that I'm surprised to hear a story like that, because if someone came to me and asked me to do that, I would have the same reaction, you know? So I try to hold people to the same standards that I hold myself and my friends. So I think that it's great that she did that. I respect her and admire her for doing that. I'm fully aware that not everybody would have handled it in the same way, but I don't want to say that I'm surprised, because I believe that humans are decent despite everything I feel like I see every day about all the ways humans are not decent. I still want to believe that there is kindness and goodness in the world. And she proves that not everybody is just going to, you know, do something awful for money, for clout, whatever. So
I would have loved if she would have gotten the money, like confirm the wire transfer, because then that makes her story more plausible, and you can always trace the money back, right? Financial forensics is a real thing, you guys. So then once she gets the money into her account, now we can trace it back to see who he's working with. And now she has proof. Like, look, they gave me this money. This is what they wanted me to do. Because right now she said she didn't take the money. She didn't disclose the name of the person. So now next time, sis, get the money and then we'll walk it back. So now you can get paid. Now it's a win-win.
I know, she should have been like, okay, fine, I'll do it. Pay me 75% up front and I'll collect the rest later. And then she never even collects the rest because she never even does it. That would be the real way to handle it. All right, you guys, let's wrap up our show for the day. We're going to be back again at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow as usual. So tune in, subscribe, tap the bell, leave a comment below, share this video with your friends. Have a great Wednesday, you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.